Welcome to Living Life Gospel. Real life, real talk, real hope. Every show. Join us every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. as we discuss topics relating to life, church, family, education, and so much more. Invite a friend. Tag them even. But don't you dare miss the show. Living Life God's Way. Every Thursday at 6:30 p.m.
Impacting lives, choose life, sharing love to everyone. Impacting lives, choose life, sharing joy through the gospel of Jesus, gospel of Jesus, gospel of Jesus Christ.
Welcome to Living Life Gospel. Real life, real talk, real hope. Every show. Join us every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. as we discuss topics relating to life, church, family, education, and so much more. Invite a friend. Tag them even. But don't you dare miss the show. Living Life God's Way. Every Thursday at 6:30 p.m.
Good evening to you. Welcome to Living Life God's Way. We're glad that you are here with us. As usual, like three of us, we're always smiling. We're happy people, despite whatever challenges we have. We are still happy. We hope you're happy as well. God is able.
Yeah.
Yes. So welcome to Living Life God's Way. This evening, we're going to have a discussion about how to keep a woman.
You make it sound like
This is a difficult task.
that was not something
I'm not
last
like
week, was it?
No, I felt it different.
You felt it too, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Not just me then.
Absolutely.
Boy, I know I'm going to get it good.
You know? 2 to
But
1.
we're having a discussion this evening on how to keep a woman. How do you get it done? And so on. I don't want to overemphasize because I have two ladies next to me. And I know I'll get squeezed right in the middle.
Easy.
But we're excited about this evening discussion. We hope last week's program was a blessing to you and you got some insight on how to keep a man. And this week, of course, to balance off the scale, we want to have how to keep a woman. That's what we're discussing this evening. So tag someone, tell the gentleman to come on, tag your lady friends. We want to hear your comments. We want to hear your thoughts and opinions as we share ours. And I'm going to listen this evening and drop some small bombs as we talk about how to keep a woman. We'll be right back. We'll be right back on Living Life God's Way this evening. Stay with us.
Welcome to Living Life God's Way. Real life, real talk, real hope. Every show. Join us every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. as we discuss topics relating to life, church, family, education, and so much more. Invite a friend. Tag them even. But don't you dare miss the show. Living Life God's Way. Every Thursday at 6:30 p.m.
And good evening to you again. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome to Living Life God's Way. This evening we're having a discussion on how to keep a woman. The mystery of how to keep the woman being revealed. Sorry, I'm being over dramatic. So, but you may ask yourself, why do we have such a topic on a program as Christian? We do have these kind of programs because, believe it or not,
I felt that.
we are actually human beings. Christians are actually human beings. We are actually people. And as much as we read our Bibles and as much as we pray and as much as we fast, we also have what we call natural lives. We also hurt. We also cry. We also want love. We also want to be loved. We want families and so on. This is a part of us. So we are not ashamed to have this discussion and these kind of discussions because we believe that is absolutely necessary to talk about such. So let's get right into it, ladies. Let's have Elder Sheridan define what's a woman.
In-house dictionary.
All right.
yes.
So
Yes.
we're looking at how to keep a woman, and just touching back from last week on how means in what way or manner are you going to keep a woman, and the word keep mean to have, to pause, or to continue. How are you going to continue with this and keep this relationship with the woman? So drum roll, meaning for woman. Thank you. Always good. So I'm going to give you two quick meanings. One from the dictionary where it says a woman is a female adult and female adult human being. Okay. And from a Hebrew meaning, now going back a little bit, Hebrew for man is ish. All right. And woman is isha. Because Eve was taken out of the man's side, and I emphasize for a reason, out of the man's side. And then he said, this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. The reason why I looked at him in that way is the woman came from the man's side. She came from her. So there shouldn't be a mystery. She came from him. Just saying.
Okay.
All at you, Pastor B.
All right. So now we have the definition of what's a woman. All right. So let's first start here, ladies. So man meets woman. They go, they date. They decided that it's time for a relationship. They got into the relationship and then they got married. How on God's beautiful earth does this man keep this woman?
What do you think as a man?
Oh, really?
So, because we, in our series of things that we've discussed, I think it's safe to say that men and women think very differently,
Right.
hear very differently, and
Right.
understand things very differently.
Yes.
And I think going from last week and obviously other sessions that we've had, it's not necessarily about doing things the way you feel things should be done, but more about the other person, whether it be your partner, whether it be your child, and putting yourself in those particular shoes, as it were, right? So that's what I would say. From a man's perspective, how do men feel? Not that I'm putting all of men on your shoulders, Pastor, but as the sole representative of the male species here, the burden's on at your door today. How do men feel that, or what do they think they should do
To keep a woman.
to keep
Yeah.
a woman?
First-
Just one, yeah.
This one? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
just one for now. Just
Because
to,
I was going to be ridiculous and say, I think he has to go into prayer fast.
That's
I'm
not-
sorry, I'll be nice. Okay, so
where is that? But, you know,
yeah, there's
where is
that.
that?
I think one of the fundamental ways to keep a woman, or fundamental things rather, is to show that you are there to protect. I think protection for a female is a major one. And so if we as men offer that. The I'm trying to find a word for it. It may not necessarily have to be that you're fighting or you have to cuff or kick somebody, but physical.
Yeah.
But more of I am there to cover you, and I think that most women expect men to be in a place where they feel I am covered by this gentleman. For us men looking on, I think that that's one of the major factors.
You know, women needing a sense of security.
Yeah.
To some
Security.
extent.
Yes. Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have something to say?
No, I'm just thinking, yeah, it's a matter of knowing that he has your back, you know, protecting. Of course, you'll hear some women say, well, I have my black belt and all of that. But I think I give this scenario already, where at some point in time in my life, back then, where I was crossing the road and with this person who had expressed interest. Now, traffic started to come on. He ran and left me.
I was trying to hold mine.
He ran and left and went across. One would think as a woman, either the guy would drag your hand and pull you across or say, come quickly,
Right.
there's a vehicle coming, right? So I felt totally unprotected.
Mm.
So that was the last time I, you know, entertained such a person, right? Yeah, well, I probably always think, but no, it was one thing after the other. And that was, as you said, it's very critical when you don't feel that the person has your interest or is protecting you.
Right.
That's absolutely a big point for me.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm not.
So y'all would breed. Well, sorry. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's important. I think if you look at society today, a lot of people will say, "Oh no, women don't want that because they're independent, they've got their own job, they've got this and that. They don't need that sense of security."
Right.
But I think that is a bit of a farce. I think most women still want to feel protected or feel a sense of security, and that's why I think women sometimes are more eager, perhaps, to get married because a sense of security to some extent.
Okay.
I've spoken to people who are not Christian,
Mhm.
and for women, their reason for getting married is because they're not comfortable with just being, you know, kind of partners, boyfriend and girlfriend living together. Want a bit more security. That's the word that they will use.
Yeah.
And so that security encompasses not just obviously financial, because it doesn't really make much difference now whether
Right.
they're married or not.
Right.
But there's something about being the wife
Yeah.
that gives you that sense of security,
Right.
and that your husband's there to kind of protect you and the family.
Mhm.
So I would say it may not be number one
Mhm.
for women, but I think it is
Okay.
critical.
Mhm.
I think it is an important important aspect for a man to keep a woman.
Yeah,
Definitely.
definitely.
Okay. So would that be considered high priority as a female in terms of guys offering some sense of security or protection? Is that high on the priority list in how to keep a woman?
I think it's one of them
Mhm.
based on reading and based on, the feedback.
Mhm.
As Colin indicated, women, they might have certain things that can cover certain things, but it's just knowing that he is there, knowing that he has her interest, knowing that should anything happen, she knows who to call, or as some might say, to open the jar or whatever, he's there.
Mhm.
It's something, I know God knows what he's doing, but there's something about the maleness and their presence. I think for some women, on the other hand, we have learned to ignore that need or to do without it. In other words, if something will bite you or something will cost you unnecessarily your peace, you just do like you don't need it.
Mhm.
And you just go on with life, you carry on with life.
Mhm.
But if deep down on the inside, we can be honest with ourselves, there is that part of it because it's scriptural.
Mhm.
It's there. Even when you look at God and you look at how many times he said, I'm protecting you, how many times I'm with you. We love Psalms 91, don't we? But that's about God protecting us.
Right.
And when you look at the biblical construct, the man is carrying on or representing Christ.
Mhm.
Sure, he is representing Christ or God to us. So therefore, if that element is missing, then Why are you there?
Mhm.
That's
So,
just my
gentlemen,
take.
you're hearing it from the lady's mouth. One of the major things, though we have not established this on high priority list, is to offer protection to the lady. So, if you want to keep a lady, showing security or offering security, not escorting her in terms of you have, because you see sometimes you have guys who start up watching their lady and security, like White House security. But we're suggesting offering protection, offering security for your lady is very important. It makes the ladies feel safe. Do I give the next one? Or do you ladies
Part
give the
of
next
being
one?
manly, I think.
Part of
Yes.
being
Right,
manly.
that was. I have a top 5
Okay.
personally.
Good,
But that was
good.
that was number
What?
5.
The security was number 5?
Number 5. In terms
Okay.
of being manly
Okay.
and it's kind of taking control of situations, that sense of protection,
Okay.
that showing confidence. I think by being that protector, you show that element of confidence to some extent.
Yeah.
And also, you talked about the guy walking across the road and leaving
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
That kind of chivalry
Chivalry. Yeah.
is not dead. You know, women still like the door to be open for them and to be carried across the road, not literally, but you know,
Yeah, but
across the
Yeah.
road.
Mhm.
And I think, you know, a woman who's comfortable in herself and is, you know, wanting to be a wife and so on, I think she would appreciate chivalry. And I
Definitely.
think that's not dead at all.
Mhm.
And you know, I like Steve Harvey. One of his 3 P's is
Yeah.
protection.
Protection.
There you go.
Okay. Well, so what's your number 1? No.
Well, it's not really number 1. It's kind of just what I had written down.
Okay. So what you have
But-
first?
My first one. Remember, this is about how to keep a woman. So
Yes.
this is advice to men.
Right.
Right. So number 1, gentlemen,
Okay.
choose the right woman.
Ooh.
That is the right point.
Ooh.
There you go.
Choose the right woman.
Okay.
Because I don't want women to feel that men are, you know, that we're the ones that's a problem or there's a problem, but that's why men can't keep a woman.
Right.
Sometimes, yes, the women are, you know, disagreeable or whatever. But sometimes the man may have just chosen the wrong woman.
Mhm.
Maybe she's right for somebody else, but just not for you.
Right.
And I think
That's
it's
amazing.
about,
Yeah.
You know I'm going to zero in on that. Now.
Yeah.
You know that. I mean,
so
I'm
it's
gonna
not
zero.
that
Mhm.
she's a bad person, he's a bad person,
Right.
we're just bad together or
Bad
a
together,
wrong fit.
Right.
Right? So it's about choosing the right woman. Don't ignore red flags. You hear women talk about red flags all the time. Men need to get on that bandwagon and look for red flags and acknowledge them. And, you know, don't let your ego get in the way. Say, no, she'll be all right. She'll change.
Right.
No,
Right.
that red flag is there. It's going to stay. Okay. I know men are very visual. I know it's about the looks and what have you, but look past that
Mhm.
if you can. Don't let that keep you in a poor relationship. You know, because she looks good, she's got a good job, she has all the aesthetic things.
Mhm.
You know, at the end of the day, it's about her heart, it's about her core, and what she. And to some extent, I don't want women to take this the wrong way, but it's about what she can do for you. It's a partnership,
Right.
so it's not just about what you can do for her, but it's also what she can do for you. I know we talk about what do you bring to the table,
Right.
and you know that's kind of commercialized now. But in the relationship, it is about what can each other bring. It's not just about financial. That's about the support you talked about last week about men needing to feel secure as well to some extent. Feel that there's a place of trust
Right.
where they can be themselves and they can be quite vulnerable. So you know you need a woman who is capable of doing that.
Right.
Okay. Because we just assume that women can do that. Not all women can do that for their men. They can do it for their girlfriends, they can do it for their children,
Mhm.
but then they struggle to give that same level of emotional support to their husbands because they feel that men don't need it.
Mm.
Men are
Right.
strong and men are good
Right,
and they're
right.
good, they're
Exactly.
good, he's good, you know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But men do need it. And know clearly what you want from your prospective partner, wife. That's about you doing your own reflection, knowing what you want, knowing what you don't want,
Mhm.
what you're prepared to compromise on, what you're not prepared to compromise on, and you know, putting that all together in choosing the right woman.
Mhm.
Wow.
That's my number 1.
That's my number 1, but I had it as know what you want. Which is the same thing. It's about knowing where you are and where you are going.
Mhm.
Many times I put it and I tell my brothers this. I said, you know, you're not a bad person. It's not that you cannot choose, but sometimes what you do, you buy a plaster. And by that I mean you're just concerned about where you are now. Sometimes you might be still nursing a hurt or something that happened
Right.
before. So
Right.
you choose someone that will help you get over that hurt. But you don't choose someone who has vision that will carry on beyond that hurt, maybe into God's purpose for your life and who fits that mat. So then you'll hear, oh, I outgrow her. But it's not so much you outgrew her, it's just that you made a choice for the place that you were at, but not for where you were going. And that's why so many times we all have to surrender our will and our preference to God.
I wanna before you, because y'all are giving so much information here, right?
Mhm.
So I really want us to run on this.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're not joining us, we're talking about how to keep a woman, and we just had some phenomenal information, and I believe that's important as the running on it. So you said just now when, and this is what I got from it,
Mhm.
when a man is growing, that he has to be mindful that if he chooses while he is growing or from a place of hurt or whatever, then it is possible you can make an error because you didn't think of the future and
Definitely.
where you will land. You may just be thinking about I'm traveling now,
Yeah,
so let me choose on my travel basis versus the
exactly.
destination.
Exactly.
So how then? What kind of advice would you give to us males, and between yourself and Doc? How do we choose? How do we choose based on okay? So
I get
we're at the place of growth. So we're growing as a man, and we know where we want to go. But we see someone now, and we connect with this person based on where we are. So we are going somewhere, and the future, though big, though the vision is there, we are still in a place where, okay, this is where I am, so I'm choosing from here. Should we choose then while we are growing, or should we choose when we would have gotten closer to our destination? What are your thoughts?
I think what you should do,
Mm.
from what I've shared before, is choose to walk in close relationship with God. Because in your devotion and worship, He reveals, He gives you a picture of where He wants you. And as we often preach, God shows us our end sometimes before we even get there. So that's why, according to the scripture, you write the vision. If God is calling you to be, let's say, a doctor, if God is calling you to be a minister or whatever, then part of that you have to bear in mind what you would need as a doctor and a wife, what you would need as a teacher and a wife. So
you're saying, sorry, I have
oh,
to,
it's okay.
so you're saying or this is where I will be,
Yeah,
or this is my
on the journey where you're headed.
yeah. So let's say I'm heading to be doctor, as you said,
Mhm.
and so if I'm heading to be doctor, I'm studying, I'm preparing myself mentally, physically, and so on. So I know that as I am a doctor, I will need to have this particular type of woman walking beside me.
Correct.
So I choose based on not where I'm studying now. So you may be able to bring me some tea, or you may be able to
That's
do
it.
something. But I'm not. I consider that, but I must remember you might not be able to go with me when I have to work late nights. It may
Not
be
only that,
that.
I heard in terms of what guys are saying, in other words, at that point in time, they were not absolutely confident in themselves.
Mm.
So, or as one would say, there were insecurities. So this is what they did. They ended a relationship with a person who was more confident, as we would say, stronger, ended that, and went for someone who was more reserved, who was more for, I would put it for lack of a better word, yes, they'll just go along.
Mm.
So then now she is not able to present or represent who he is and what he's doing. So now that he is going to business meetings and conferences, and there are times when wives are expected to be there, he's ashamed. He doesn't carry her. Or she's helping him with the business, but she doesn't have the personality to answer the call. And now he's fighting now to find ways to tell her, well, go back to what you used to do. and let me handle this business because it's starting to grow.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're joining us now for the first time, we're discussing how to keep a woman. So the ladies are giving us great advice. Dr. Collins shared in order to keep a woman, your choice is she didn't say it was number one, but it was she wrote this one first. The choice is also very important, and in terms of if you're going to keep this person, your choice is paramount important.
Very much so.
So if you make a choice, then your choice will determine where you are going or your future. So choice is important. Do you want to add on that?
I just think you could just ask yourself one question:
Mhm.
Can I see this person in my future?
Wow.
That's
That's
it.
it.
Because you know, there's fundamentals that they're going to show you. There's core personality traits. There's core behaviors that are there. That's just the person.
Right.
And yes, they can be modified and changed, but you don't want to go into a relationship long term hoping that the person's going to change and that you can change them, because what happens if they don't change?
Mhm.
So you have to go with what is presented at the time
Right.
and ask yourself, can I see this person as they are right now in my future?
Mhm.
And then from that you can determine whether there's things that you need to work on, whether you need to compromise, that you can just sacrifice and kind of let go, or they core things that are just make or break. Because you know, only you really know, as much as you might verbalize your plans,
Right.
only you really know where you want to go.
Right.
And even if you verbalize it, the other person may still get a different picture of the future. So only you really know. So it's for you to say, can this person really be with me? Because I expect to be, you know, I'm going to be a doctor and I want to be a surgeon. I want to travel the world with you know, with my skill. And will this person be able to come with me? Will this person still be able to support me? Will they be able to still keep the home, children, etc., etc.? Those are the questions. If that's what you want,
Yeah,
then that's what you need,
exactly.
right?
Mhm.
So
Because you see, when you know what you want, then you know what you have to bring.
exactly,
Right.
you know what you
And
mean?
what you bring in, and once there's sync in there, you find what you're willing to bring is what she needs as well. So both will be able to collaborate and go forward.
Mhm.
Don't come and say, well, I want X, Y, and Z. And you only say, well, I plan to do this and I plan everything I plan to.
Mm.
Right? So one thing for sure, I will tell my brothers, I will tell you, don't just come saying, I plan to do so and so, but because you know what I've learned, that women cannot marry potential. We might try
Okay.
it. We might try to
I think
marry.
somebody, Cherise. Good evening,
Uh-huh.
Cherise. Good evening, Samus. Good evening.
Yeah.
Sabita, good evening, Sharon, and whoever else is watching with them.
Mhm.
I think I saw Cherise says that most women
Right.
date for potential and men for the no.
Mhm.
Both are problematic.
Right.
Yeah.
I
Also-
totally. You want to know? Okay,
Oh,
let me tell you something.
Mhm.
Good. So here the voice of experience. Now, so two persons, and I'm telling you this because you know divorce is difficult and it's hard. So I'm going to tell you the plain truth. So a man could come to you and tell you, I want to be a pastor. I want to go in ministry.
Mhm.
I want to go to Bible school and study because I believe the Lord has a call upon my life.
Mhm.
And as the woman, you're so enamored because he calls you, he takes you out, he makes time for you, and he speaks nicely for you.
Mhm.
And so you decide to get married because, you
Right.
know, you're getting older, you've spent a year or two together, whatever, and you know what? Yeah, it's time to get married. You just
Right.
feel you have discovered gold.
Right.
All right, so you go ahead. And then when you say the I do, as you say the I do, I repeat, as you say the I do, one by one, the things they planned to do, they drop out. So in other words, they might start Bible school together with you, but drop out after the first year.
Mhm.
And then you, as the woman, you have to go ahead year 2 and year 3 by yourself.
Mhm.
Okay, so they plan to get more involved in ministry. After a certain time, they say, well, I don't think that's really what I really wanted to do. I'm thinking of doing X, Y, and Z. So I'm telling you from experience, you never, because there's some women sometimes we are forgiving or we are trusting, because sometimes whatever we say, we are nurturers. We do, right? I'm not saying all men are like that, but I'm saying you have to be very careful when you're dealing with potential. And I've heard it, and when I heard men preaching it and sharing it and giving women tips, that is why I said men don't just come with potential. In other words, whatever you want to do, either you start doing it or the evidence that you're doing it. Don't say, I want to serve God. You should be. You know, and if a woman, a man says, I want to serve God and take him seriously, no problemo. Give him time to do that. Don't go rush into any relationship. So again, I'll tell my brothers, know what you want. Once you know what you want, you therefore know what you will have to give.
Okay. No.
No, I think I said everything I said. You know, it's about knowing what you want, asking that pertinent question to yourself. If that person, you can see, you know, that person in your future, as Cherie says, you know, men tend to date for the now. They don't think long term. They don't think about, you know, what will this relationship look like in 5 or 10 years. Where women do, but that's also, as Cherie said, that can be problematic as well because people do change.
Right.
Things, you know, life happens. Things, a curveball can come and everything can change.
Right.
And that whole planning of the future, your vision that you had, now has to take a different turn. That can also have an effect on your relationship. But it's about, I guess, with everything, it's about balance. It's about, yes, this is great now, but does this have the potential to go somewhere for the future? And you know, back to my point about choosing the right woman, it's also about knowing what you want and what you need and expressing that as well. So a lot of men don't necessarily have kind of a list of things that are, you know, everyone says, oh, men are quite simple in that regard. There's, you know, as long as she can cook, or these are seem to be simple things that will suffice for a man, whereas a woman tends to have like this long checklist of all these different things. But maybe men need to start having a bit more of a checklist, so that when they do go into the relationship and then they start with their demands, or they start to let the woman know what they want, and she's like, well, you never said this before. Oh, I didn't know that. And how come you're only saying this now? Oh, you've changed. Well, it's not changed because you didn't say at the beginning kind of what your needs are. Because men are not socialized to necessarily talk about their needs and wants, because that's down to emotions, and you know, it's attached to emotions, and men don't do that and all that stuff. So, but it's about allowing yourself to be heard as well, what you require, and you know, choosing the right woman for you.
That's well said. I think that point is so loaded, man. It's like a dump truck, and one of those Mack trucks. You know, you go and pick up stuff and you dump stuff on it. That's really loaded. So, gentlemen, we've heard the importance of choice. Choice is very important. And one of the things that God gives us in everything is choice. Even salvation is a choice. If you can choose to be saved or not. Well, what's number 2, Doc? Communication. Okay. So how can you keep a woman? Communication. Tell us about that.
Communicate. So I think we've talked about it before, about how men and women communicate. And so we've established that men are not necessarily verbal communicators, but they do communicate in other ways. And we looked at, you know, how women can interpret and read their men. And I think for men, you know, women do like to talk things through. And so I guess my advice would be for men to kind of get a little bit more comfortable with communicating with the verbal rather than just the kind of physical things. It goes back to my point about needs. Men need to communicate their needs as well, and not kind of, and I don't want to sound demeaning anyway, but not, instead of acting out their needs and their wants, you know, verbalize it, have a conversation. And I think having that communication helps with gaining respect for the woman, because again, we talked about men needing a place of rest and trust, and women don't necessarily know that you need that because you don't communicate that in a way that she can understand. You will do that in...
What is the best way then to communicate? Talk.
We don't talk. Chat. You don't talk.
Jesus. So explain in detail what you're thinking of, basically, or what is in your thoughts. You explain in detail. You because, for example, I can say this is a cell phone. Oh, this is a sweetheart. This is a cell phone. Okay, what does a cell phone do? What do you do with it?
What cell
And
phone is it?
what-
Is it Android? Is it
Right,
iPhone? You need
right.
detail.
You need
You
detail.
need detail.
Okay.
So if you say, oh, I don't know. Because if she says to you, how was your day? But you say it was cool.
Mhm.
What does that mean?
Right. We do that. I do that.
What does that mean? Is it an
Yeah.
average day cool? Was it cool but
And it's cool because of the
because of
weather.
the weather?
We're in
With-
AC.
All
Yeah.
right, yeah, right?
Okay.
So it's like,
Okay.
what was cool about it? And then when we ask, so tell me what's cool. Like for us, it's like, oh, I have to drag information, and
Right.
you know what's so hard just to explain how the day. So before we even started the conversation, we're already kind of thinking, oh, we're humbugging or whatever,
Right.
and then
Okay.
you don't communicate.
Yeah.
Right.
So there was part of a woman understanding her man and knowing that if he says it's cool, it is cool, and if it's not, he may well come round a little later and say, well, you know, this thing happened at work or whatever.
Right.
But if you're formulating a relationship and stuff like that, you're getting to know the person. You don't want to expose everything.
Mm.
But you know, just saying, "Cool, my day was cool," or it was fine. Just a little bit more detail
Okay.
would be great.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, Elder.
Yeah. Still elder. You know, this communication thing is, I believe, is absolutely sacred.
Mm.
And I will tell you why I say it is sacred. Every day God expects us to communicate with him, dialogue with him. And you know, sometimes we are so excited to talk about meeting with God and spending time with God. You don't ever stop praying and all of that. You know, sometimes when God asks us to do things, you say seek him first. When he's asking us to do things, he's really preparing us for the things that you're believing in him for. Because he knows that if you have learned how to communicate with him, to talk your heart to him, when then he is only saying, the same way you talk to me and explain, I want you, when I bring the right person whom you can trust, you explain to her as well. So you transfer that skill which you have tremendously developed with God and share some of that with her. So it makes it easier for you to understand that talking to a woman is not so much a mystery. It's a mystery, I believe, if you don't take time to communicate. Because I see how sometimes men will stand one side and eyeing a woman, trying to figure her out. Is she nice? Should I talk with her? Yeah, you can get information about her from other persons.
Right.
But you know what? A woman will reveal as much as she feels comfortable in an environment. So you might ask one person about her and another person about her, and you might get a different story. One might meet as a businesswoman, other might meet as a pro. She loves to laugh, X, Y, and Z. But it's from talking to her, so why are you always so serious with me? If you knew me, you'll understand I love to laugh.
Right.
You understand? So we have to learn to know. I'm telling my brothers, you have to learn to communicate. We're not saying to switch from level 1 to level 10, but just start, you know, explain. And trust that when she asks a question, and of course we will know to ask in a good way, that, you know, she means well. She's trying to understand you and wants you to understand her. And the bottom line is this, as I told someone not too long ago, the more you understand her and she knows that you're understanding her, the less she has to say really. So you won't have to feel like, oh, she's nagging or she's always acting. No. After a while, when you say cool, she understands exactly what you mean.
That was what I was just about to say. I would say it goes back to that number one.
Yeah.
Once you have the right woman, you'll find that it won't be a struggle to communicate. You'll be able to find your own language between the two of you,
Right.
and it will come naturally.
Yeah.
If you're feeling restricted in some way in communicating with your partner, something's wrong. I find something's wrong.
And sometimes you ask a question too, because she might be restricting communication because she sounds like you're just magnifying, observing her to see X, Y, and Z. You know, some students cannot perform on the exams.
This is interesting because it is saying to me that as you make a good choice, I don't want to say the right choice. I want to say a good choice. That it is easy then to move on to the next phase, which is communication. You're communicating. So if you made a good choice, because you can say to a particular person, I am really tired, I'm going to rest. and then you can say to somebody else, I'm really tired, I'm going to rest. And you can have two different persons responding to the same thing completely different.
Correct.
Which again, as you said, relates to choice, because one may hear, I don't want to talk to you. I had enough for you for the day, and the other one hears, okay, I understand you're tired, you had a difficult day, so it's okay to go rest. This is amazing, ladies.
Yeah.
This is good stuff. I hope that you are enjoying Living Life God's Way with us this evening. Please tag your brothers, tag your husbands, tag your boyfriends, and so on. And I hope that they can benefit from this discussion that we're having this evening on how to keep a woman. Communication. Good choice. Communication. What's the next one, Doc?
Well,
Drum roll for this one?
no,
Oh,
don't really. Proverbs 15:23 says, "How good is a timely word? Compliment her without her having to ask."
Compliment her.
Yes.
All right.
Compliment. I say it might sound quite simple and superficial, but I think it goes a long way in terms for a woman. She feels she feels appreciated, that you're looking at her, because we know that men very visual, they like to look, and eyes are all over the place kind of thing. Doesn't necessarily mean anything by it, but we know that men are very visual. So if you're complimenting, you're noticing a hairdo, new dress, nails, whatever, you're looking at her also. Yeah, and you're paying attention to her also. So it makes her feel attractive, makes her feel appreciated. It lets her know that you're looking at her, that you're paying attention, that you're taking notes and you're noticing.
But I heard because we are Steve Harvey people, we check him out. I heard Steve Harvey say, so a lady asked him, so why do men like so much? Remember that?
Why do men what?
Like so much.
Yes.
And it goes
I saw
like,
that one.
because they're scared to tell the truth.
There is that. I said compliment. So compliment when something. Don't
So you
lie
look-
and say, "Oh, you look nice," when she blatantly.
So let's say you go to the hairstylist and you come back with your hairstylist. What is that? and obviously she expects some kind of reaction because that's what she got done not too long ago. So what is your reaction? And then what do you do?
Well, if you
In
have
that
the right
case.
woman and you know how to communicate well, she will know that.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
my husband doesn't like it. Okay, maybe I need to do something different.
Okay.
Rather
Right.
than, what do you mean I don't like it? You know how much money I spent?
And spend hours in the
Exactly.
salon.
Right.
Okay.
So
okay.
she, if, again,
Ah.
right woman will
Exactly.
know that, my husband doesn't like it. Oh, okay, what don't you like about it? You have you communicate.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
All
So
right.
you communicate. And you say, what don't you like? Oh, I'm not too sure about the color, the cut, whatever I prefer. It's okay, but I prefer,
Right.
right? That kind of stuff.
Okay.
So that's, But when you just compliment without her ask, without having to say, do you like my hair? Do you like my dress? Say if you're going out, say, oh, that dress looks really good on you. Right? Stuff like that.
Because coming from a man, he said, men tend to we notice things, but we don't follow up, as you were saying, to compliment. So the encouragement then, when you notice something that's good, but we do. Sometimes we are prone that when we notice something that we don't like, or that's negative, we say it, But how about in terms of the positive as well? When you notice something that is doing well, you say it. It's okay. And I mean, it's a matter of signaling to each other, well, you're on the right track.
Okay.
You're on the right track. The same way a man would want to know what I'm doing is necessary or needed. Well, the same thing as well.
All right.
There was a test done, just very quickly. Someone sent me a video, I think a video on me, and there was, it was a marriage counsel, something, I can't remember what it was. But the instructor or somebody said, message your wife and tell her that you love her, or something like that, and see what message comes back. And there was an array of messages that came back from their respective wives. Some were like, oh, what have you done now? What are you up to? What have you done? What is this? Is this the wrong number? Who are you texting? You just, So obviously there's so the lack of communication and compliments and stuff like this is for these men was not something that they do on a regular basis. And when they do it, it's normally because for these men, normally because they've done something wrong. They're looking for favor and grace and mercy, and not because they genuinely, want to make that statement. So that was just a little something on top. So it should be something that's done on a regular basis, but genuinely done.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think too, especially in the choosing part, when you know that the person has a good heart towards you, even if they have to say something that may not be, as you say, as positive as you would like, you know, they have your best interest at heart. You know, so when you start with that first, as you were saying earlier, starting with the right, knowing what you want, and having someone who have a heart and all of that, things will flow better. For sure.
Interesting. I hope that you are enjoying our discussion this evening. We are discussing how to keep a woman, and we've had some really good points, and so far they have won me over.
Not so much mystery. And
No,
that.
I thought it would have been like, what?
No.
What's going on here? But
No.
no, so far,
That
great
was last
stuff.
week.
Yeah, that was all last week. What's up with that?
It was a great team.
Okay, so let's have the next one.
Be thoughtful.
Be thoughtful. Okay.
Yeah. Just simple again, you know, call up, ask how her day was, maybe if her love language, maybe acts of service. So, you know, I think someone put in the chat about learning love languages,
Yeah,
and we spoke
can be
about that
fun.
before.
Mhm.
So, you know your partner's love language and be mindful of that.
Mhm.
You know, just call her, she's had lunch, you have eaten, you're feeling well, you know, just check in. Do things around the house again without having to be asked. There's a lot of asking that women tend to have to do. Can you not do that? Can you do this? Can you know? So sometimes just do things. And I know last week you said about doing something and the color of the house might be wrong, and
Right.
so men are kind of afraid to,
Yeah.
you know, to venture out and do
Right.
kind of things. But again, back to number one. If
Yes.
you've got
The
the right woman.
Oh man,
Mm.
choice,
Right? You've got the
choice.
right choice. You made a
Yeah.
good choice or
Mm.
positive choice.
Mm.
Then again, you know, those things are easily
Right.
ironed out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just be thoughtful. Just be mindful. Think about. And I think again, men are very much here and now, and women do think about the future or consequence or potential consequences. Men can be
Yeah.
a bit more spontaneous than women, and a bit more risky or risk takers. Women
Right.
tend to be a bit more risk adverse and so
Mm.
on. So just think about when you're doing things, how this will look. How will my wife think about this? How will my partner
Mhm.
interpret this?
Mm.
It's like a self-check for yourself, but also you're being mindful and thoughtful that you have a partner, you have a wife, you're now one. You know, you represent the union. It's not just you anymore.
Yeah.
So if I'm here and I behave like this in a restaurant, or if I'm, you know, or whatever,
Mm.
how does this reflect on my partner? How does it reflect on our relationship? So
Right.
just being mindful of that, how you go about your life now.
Yeah.
Also incorporates, you know, this other person. So be mindful of that.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
Interesting.
self-check.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead, comment on that.
I think that's cool.
That's good.
The
Okay.
point was made there. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And that's fair. That's fair. How to keep your woman, gentleman? Compliment.
Mhm.
Hey, girl, you're rocking those shoes.
Hey, you're getting it.
You
You're
get
getting
it, you're working, you're working.
I get it.
Of this awesome
That's-
sauce.
it. Awesome sauce. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome sauce.
Yeah,
man.
yeah. And that's the
Yeah.
thing too, as you did there. You know what? We are not saying that the guy has to be perfect, but have the heart to do what's right.
Right.
So that when you see the effort, the genuine effort in there, we feel good. You know, you feel good just knowing that he recognizes that he still has to learn a few things, and we see that he is trying. Yeah,
Mhm.
congratulate. You know, just keep up with the effort, and as you said, whatever you find is working, keep working it.
Right.
Mm.
What is working, keep working it.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have another?
My last one we kind of covered already, which was the be manly, the taking control
Oh, yeah.
of situations, security, protection,
Mhm.
those kind of things. So I would finish off then with the 3 P's from Steve Harvey, just as a reminder. He talked about professing, provide, and protect. Obviously, he was speaking to women in terms of how to, you know, kind of navigate dating men. But I think it's the same for men, for them
Right.
to continue to display these things. They need to profess. They need to talk about their partner in a complimentary way. You know, nothing better to hear you know, your husband speaking to his friend about a meal you just cooked, or you know, so you're professing, you take them out and you say, oh, this is my wife, and you know, you can see them glowing and beaming of how proud he is of his wife, or,
Right.
you know, so you're professing all the time. You want to be with her, you want to take her to events, you want her by your side, and you continuously profess about her.
I think those are some great points to practice.
Yeah.
Maybe we can have them put in the program chat.
Yep.
I think those are great points that we gentlemen can capitalize on. You know, we're not here to, because you know, sometimes when we have male-female discussion, there's always this rivalry
No need.
going on.
No need for that.
I know even as believers, you still have this rivalry going on. But
Yeah.
we want that when the door is closed, that there is some camaraderie and
That's peace.
stuff going on. I find that what can happen is, and you know, if you are newly getting to know somebody, newly married and stuff, you know, things are fresh. But then as you age together, you go through experiences together, we never focus on the fact that we still need to keep this person, this individual. I need to keep the attention up. For the ladies, you know, obviously you carry yourself in a particular way. The same thing with the gentlemen, but there's an interlocking of both. So the lady is always thinking, how do I keep my man? And the man is always keep thinking, how do I keep my woman?
Correct.
So both of them are doing, you know, like what we suggested there, what we talked about last week, the two intertwining. I believe that a marriage can work really well if that's the case, you know.
The mindset.
Yeah, so that no one person is pouring when the other has the cup holding.
Exactly. A pastor said to me,
Mhm.
marriage is not about making you happy, it's about making
The
your
other
partner
person.
happy.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking about your wife and your wife is thinking about you, everybody's
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah.
When you
Right.
start thinking about yourself,
Right.
Yeah.
then you're no longer making that person happy, because there are going to be things that you do that make you happy but don't
Right.
make them happy.
Right.
So if you're constantly making them happy, or thinking, being mindful, being thoughtful, and considering the union, and both are doing that,
Right.
how can it go wrong?
And
Right.
it can happen naturally. That's it happening in mind for each other. I remember
So before you say that though, so it is possible then to not have the mind for each other.
yes, because your mind might be more on the experience of marriage. I want
Right.
to be married, but what
Right.
does that mean?
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
If you say you want to be married, that means there's a connection between mind and mind, soul and soul, spirit and spirit.
Right.
So if you're not working in those areas, you will never be connected.
Mm.
Right? So if you have the mind for the person, her heart, the way she feels, and so forth, you know that she loves gifts or whatever, then you try, your mind and your heart is towards that. So that when you go in your spirit to God, and you're asking God, help me to be a good man to my wife, then He's able to bring back certain things you would have learned when you were dating, certain things you would have said along the way, so that you could minister. If she is praying the same thing, the same experience is happening to her as well.
Mm.
I remember hearing a story a few months. I love to read up and watch these little how guy meet girl and things like that. So, you know,
Yeah.
from a Christian perspective.
You know, unless you get the movie like that.
Well,
Yeah,
they
movies
wanted
like that are
to,
great.
they wanted to, but
Mm.
I like it from life experience. You know, the hallmark might be little fancy do's for the show,
Yeah.
but we live on YouTube, you'll find couples doing that. So there was this Christian couple they met, and you know, that's during COVID. After COVID, they decided to go on a trip in America. So they went from one state to another, but they went at a particular state and they decided, well, to spend the day apart. One will do what they interest, and the other one will do what interests them. So they left the apartment and they went their ways. They both came back, and both was happy and beaming. Why? The girl had a gift for him, and the guy said, I have a gift for you too. So they both exchanged gifts.
Right.
So they were both thinking about each other and what they both each other like. So that gelled them together
Right.
even more. So once you have the mind for each other, then you will remember, you know what, she likes this. Or like if you're going down the road, and happen even with regular friendship, and that's why I know it can happen in marriage, with regular friendship. If you know she likes cups and you see something fancy and it's a cup and you can't afford it, it might cost $1, $2, you just buy it. she's going down through, he loves these kind of things here. So you just,
Right.
you pick it up.
I'm loving this because at no point anything that you're saying sounds selfish.
It's not,
It sounds like I have your interests at heart, you have mine at heart,
that's it.
and we are coexisting
Yes.
together. I'm not caught up with I, me, mine. I'm caught up with you. I'm so into making you happy, and you are so into making me happy.
Yeah.
It can't be off balance because then the other person can suffer if it is off balance. But if it's balanced, and I like the story that you gave, where the person brought back a gift for his wife,
Yeah.
and hey, but they have a gift for you too.
Exactly.
So that is great. It lends to I can, if you are doing what you can to keep me, and then you and I am doing what I can to keep you, then we both will keep each other. What was the definition of keeping again? Or
Sure.
to keep said what?
I come in. So to keep,
Right.
to have, or to cause to continue in
Right.
a specific cause.
Right. And I like the part when it says the cause to continue.
Continue.
So it sounds like if I don't arrive at keeping you, I am constantly in work. Or I am
Yes.
constantly working
Yes.
to keep you. And maybe what is happened to our marriage and relationship is we stop trying to keep.
Why we stop sometimes? Because they figure because you're wearing the ring, you're entitled to certain things.
Right.
You
Right,
understand?
right.
So in other words, regardless of how many times she does something for you or he does something for you,
Right.
this may be an extreme, but this is just an example.
Mhm.
I say thanks
Right.
because he didn't have to.
Right.
He surprised me with a drink or whatever. Thank you, and you show whatever romantic or appreciation. He didn't
Yeah.
have to.
Right.
But if we understand that the person at every day choosing to love us, to care, to
Right.
do what it takes to keep us,
Right.
then you recognize you have something good going,
Right.
and you will honor, and you will respect that. You know,
Mm.
and we learn this in life sometimes the hard way. But once we are prepared to learn, get your notebook, write the vision for yourself, and you'll understand what you need to bring as well
Right.
to that equation. And I'm tired of, well, I've heard it so many times because the guy figure he has the woman, he can relax.
Right.
And that's why I have certain point. He can relax because he
Right.
figure once she's there, she's always.
Right.
And he's
Can be hard work, no start.
but it's like when I
For
was
both of them.
everybody,
Yeah.
and everyone.
Yeah.
It's like I will never forgot when I learned to drive and I got my finally got my license after the third attempt. And I heard the instructor said, well, you know, now that you have the license, that's how I know, yes, I got it. But he said, you have the license, but you now have to learn to drive.
Right.
Because before you were dating, you were coming and seeing each other, even if you spend a long time or you spend the whole, you were going.
Right.
Come see me and come live with me is another two different stories.
So
You know?
should the other, I know we spoke of love languages
Mhm.
and stuff. We're coming to the end of our broadcast quickly. Wow. Is it the onus on the other person to tell the other what they're like, or should the person spend time trying to figure out what they're like? Which is better? I know obviously if we say it's quicker, but if I learn, would I be able to appreciate it more versus if you say it?
I haven't
What was
answered.
it
I
they
don't know
say?
if you calling want to go first.
I would just say.
Just say,
We're just
okay.
For me,
Okay.
it's
too old.
depends.
But I think we should say because we just talked about communication.
Yeah.
We talked about being open. We talked about being honest.
Right.
Yeah.
Personally, to me, it's like, oh, let me see if he knows.
Right.
Why?
Right.
You know,
Right. That's
let him
could be
know.
time wasting.
Yeah, time wasting.
Yeah,
Let me
okay.
tell you what I want.
Mhm.
Then you know what I want, and then because you're still gonna have to learn how to do it. If it's
Right.
not your
Yeah.
love language,
Right.
Yeah,
you're still gonna have to learn to know that I like acts of service.
Mhm.
So and that's not your love language. Your love language might be I don't know, quality time, for example.
Right.
So you're not accustomed to doing stuff
Mm.
for your partner.
Mm.
So you have to learn now how to do stuff for me because
Right.
acts of service is my love language,
Right.
right? So that process is hard enough in itself. Learning to do the act that is required,
Mm.
on top of also learning what or trying to figure out what. That's just too much. I
Right.
know that's too much pressure.
Straight up against
Just straight
communication.
up, just communicate.
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
this, I like
Yeah.
that, I don't like this, and
Yeah.
everybody knows where they are. And then you can make those assessments. You can analyze. You can decide whether or not, like you said,
Yeah.
you're making a choice. And so you need to know that you can fulfill that or not. Particularly if you're more mature in age,
Right.
Exactly.
right? You know what you want. You should know what you want. You need to let him choose. Let him figure out what it is. No, that's that. Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
tell
For
you,
me,
I tell you
I didn't
100.
know. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And you can. There's so many things that can happen along the way. So many errors, and you could make such tremendous mistake that the relationship just breaks down.
Mhm.
And it could have been avoided if everyone had just been open and honest at the very beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, what I was saying, it depends on the, as she alluded to, the age. Because if it's a young person, getting to know each other, your time, you just get to know and just relax a little bit. It's only when you're sure, well, you have a person who has a good heart, they have a good mind, they're open-minded, and they're willing to grow and learn and things of that nature. Then when you recognize you have a teachable spirit, as one would say,
Right.
then you can really reveal and say everything. Because a person who is teachable is not interested in playing games.
Right.
And you have to realize that there are some people who are there and they are playing games.
Right.
And that's the harsh reality of it, right? And I know that I'm not picking, but I'm telling you what happened. There are guys who will sit down and observe and try to figure out what the woman is like with the intention of just doing those things to win her over. But his intention is not to go the full length. It's not to go all the way and to be all that he should be. But when you sense that you have a gentleman who has your heart, who's really interested in you, and you will know, right? And who has this interest, as Pauline was saying, you tell her. You tell him, especially when you get mature, it's like, I'm playing roundabout and rounders. No, I don't mind if you tell me something that you observe, but I prefer you just tell me in a kind way or whatever have you, or give me a chance to get to understand you because I'm understanding the way you speak. Then you can just, as I said, go straight and deal with the issue.
I think also as well, I'll give my thoughts, then I'll come to you dot, and then we can close off. I find sometimes in relationships that we're getting to know people, and even in marriages, we like to isolate the other from other people. And I think the associating with other people tell you who you're dealing with. Because if I'm able to respond to a female that I'm not in anything with, and we are we just have conversation, then I can see how you treat females. I can see how you treat your mom, and so on. And obviously vice versa. I see how the woman speaks to other men. Because what I realized that when a woman can disrespect another man in public, she will disrespect her man in public.
Definitely.
And I've seen that. I've seen if a man can disrespect his partner in public, or we see the intertwining of these two dynamics going on. And I think you can learn who people are when they're in crowds or yes, by yourself, and you'll see how they respond to you. But if you are now trying to figure them out, you can see how they respond to other people. That will give you an idea of what you're dealing with. I say, when we are joining together, we have to, and we're thinking long term, or we're thinking of getting to know and work out, it is important to be objective and be open and be real. Sometimes we can find ourselves being unreal and we can see people for what they're not because of the analogy that we have in our head of the kind of person that I want. So we press down the thing that is right in your face that is so off that this is craziness, but you say, you know what, that thing is right there, and we don't be real with it. I just want to use the word real because that's a word we use a lot now. Real, like be real. We say that a lot, but we often are not real. So then when you go, you get married and stuff like that, you end up sleeping in different bedrooms, and you end up sleeping on the couch. You end up with all these crazy things because there wasn't any realness,
Yeah.
and you are in a place where, oh, and as you said, Elder Charity, I no longer have to do anything to keep you because I already have you.
Yeah.
So whatever, however you behave, however you treat me, whatever, I don't care, you don't care. And this is madness.
Absolutely.
The reality is this happens in Christian homes as well. And I know you may not want to say this or look at it as reality, but it does. You're going to church every Sunday, you're doing the right thing, you're fasting, you're praying, and in your house is a war zone, you know, because nobody's trying to please the other anymore. Nobody's giving in to the other,
Yeah.
and the craziness continues. So I'm saying, I said all of that to say, do what you have to do to keep each other and make each other happy. Dr. Colin.
I don't know what much more to say. Yeah. I'm not really much sure, but I think, like you said, it's about keeping the other person happy. And I think for whether, we're talking about how to keep a woman, but obviously a spin-off from last week,
Yeah.
how to keep a man.
Yeah.
It's the same applies. Love is a commitment. It's something that you have to keep working at. You have to keep doing. And I think especially when you're in a relationship, it's constant work. It doesn't have to be constant hard work, but it's constant work.
Constant.
You have to keep going. You have to keep at it.
Right.
And Elder Sheridan alluded to the kind of entitlement. We're married now, so everything is good. I don't have to do anything more because the whole aim was just to get married or just to get a wife. But that's when the work starts.
No, sir.
That's when the work now starts. So yeah, I think in order to keep your relationships healthy and happy, it's about being mindful of the other person, mindful of the union itself in general,
Right.
and knowing that you have to continue to keep the love alive, as they say.
Love it.
Right. And I think, one of the points I had, I said, well, don't say it until you mean it. And that's the I love you. Sometimes people feel love is just a feeling, feel good about the person, and that's it. I'll put it this way. If you love someone, then your actions will match up. It was a point of discussion, and coming from a guy. One of the things a guy can do to show his love, and it may be debatable, but, some people say they're friendly, but they don't know how to define the difference between friendly and flirty, right? When you're going into a relationship, men, they will always have friendships, whatever have you. I understand that totally. You're not going to change the man and his life. But he has to know how far to go and what to say. And I remember, and I was speaking to a minister, and he said, sometimes I feel embarrassed by men. And this is the reason. He said, sometimes they're out with their wife or they're out with their girlfriend. And they'll see someone, either they're walking after that person or they're going down this long list of compliments and all of that. He's saying, I don't see that you wouldn't recognize that they may be nice or whatever, but you have to honor the woman. Remember, she is your wife, you chose her. So these compliments should be flowing in her direction. If you see a sister and you appreciate them, you can say basically depending on the nature of the person. But you have to be careful how you respect and how you honor her. If you said you love her, then he said, in other words, you're making her as number one in your life after God. Talking about being able to focus and build. And I think we alluded to that. Because you have her, that doesn't mean that's the end of it. You were almost every night when you're dating, you want to meet her, you want to see her, you want to do this, you want to do that. Because she said I do, that doesn't mean you stop dating. Like, my dad is 80-something years old and he still dates mom. I watch them and say, Lord Jesus. But he still dates mom. He still calls her his girlfriend, this kind of thing. So you want to have that sort of closeness that is going on. And I will just cut it short and say, whatever you did to get her or to get her attention or to have her feel comfortable with you or for her to feel safe enough to say, I do, continue to do it.
All right. So you've heard it from the ladies this evening as we spoke on how to keep a woman. We hope that this information has been informative and you can apply it to your relationships and you can apply it to your marriage and you can have some insight on how to do better and be better in your marriage or in your relationship. Life is full of changes. If life is full of changes, then relationships are also full of changes and consistent work. Remember what Elder Charity said, they kept. To be kept means a process. It's continued. It keeps going. So we must do our part and we must put in the effort. May God help you this evening as you venture here. So we wish you a good night. Thank you for being with us this evening on Living Life God's Way. We've had a good discussion. Next week will be no different. We will have a good discussion as well. You can follow our page and find out what we're going to be talking about. We'll be glad to have you on board to see what's going to happen. So God bless you from the three of us and all of us. Have a great evening and God bless you. We'll see you next week on Living Life God's Way. Bye for now.
Bye.
Welcome to Living Life God's Way. Real life, real talk, real hope. Every show. Join us every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. as we discuss topics relating to life, church, family, education, and so much more. Invite a friend, tag them even, but don't you dare miss the show. Living Life God's Way every Thursday at 6:30 p.m.